Hello again. I've been thinking a lot recently about the fact that I love horror and have loved horror for a very long time, and internet horror stories like Creepypasta or true stories like the Let's Not Meet group in Reddit, and I've been wondering about the difference between them and what could be more scarier. And this isn't a competition because I love both. But I've just been pondering the differences, I suppose. And I suppose if I go back and think about when I was a small child and reading The Witches by Roald Dahl, the chapters where he talks about the different things that witches did to children, that's the first time I remember getting really spooked by something that I read, by a story. And I remember feeling kind of addicted to that feeling. And I suppose it's kind of, they were one-off stories, like they weren't really part of the plot. They kind of were, but they were one-off stories, chapters in themselves. And then later on, when I was about, I say 9 or 10 maybe 10, a small group of us got really addicted to telling scary stories, like ghost stories, to each other. I remember we'd huddle together in the playground like white-faced junkies after the next fix of terror, and some girls actually couldn't handle it and ended up getting hysterical, and we had to cheer them up afterwards. But I just remember being obsessed with it and having nightmares but wanting to carry on. And we also used to read like the children's horror stories, like the short stories and things that were around at the time, but I always remember being disappointed. They never captured that kind of same feeling. They could be entertaining, but it just wasn't the same. And then I went on to enjoy reading horror novels by horror authors, and then I went on to weird, scary stuff, and then also just weird stuff. But and I still love reading them, and I do sometimes get scared. For example, I remember one Clive Barker horror story that really creeped me out, and weirdly enough, Sarah Waters' book, The Little Stranger, I found bits of that quite unsettling as well. But I don't remember feeling that playground sense of terror until I found creepypastas online. There's just something really unsafe about them. You can kind of pretend that you don't know who's writing it, even though it's probably just a kid at a computer. But you can kind of pretend that maybe it is that person that they claim to be telling this story. I mainly loved listening to them. I'd listen to the audio from YouTube channels, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole there. But then, I felt like I'd kind of plunged the depths, and I wasn't sort of feeling the same as before. And then I moved on to the true ones like Reddit, Let's Not Meet. Again, I was listening to them via audio, and true stories are always a bit creepier because they happened. I mean, a lot of these probably didn't happen, but they gave me the same kind of unsettled feeling. The quality control on a lot of the channels who do it is often not great, but that just kind of made it more exciting when you did find a good one. And sometimes I'd feel guilty, like, should I be reading a classic instead of sitting here with my headphones on listening to something that's often not that well written, and they can sometimes get quite repetitive as well. But I just ignored that. I think the best ones are the ones that are make you feel slightly unhinged from reality. I prefer obviously the more subtle ones, and often have a really good central image. For example, one that sticks out in my mind is where some paramedics had to remove a body, and it was dead in all respects except for its eyes, which were open and were following them all around the room wherever they went. It had no pulse, and it was dead, but it was doing this. I don't remember any of the rest of the story, but that image really has stayed with me. And I think a strong central image is quite key to a scary story, whether it's a creepypasta or, you know, a published book. A strong central image, I think, and subtlety, really, it does work for me. A good film that shows this example actually is, I don't know if you've seen Lake Mungo. It's the only film to have scared me in recent years, and which seems weird because it's actually quite tame. And I've seen some really gruesome things, some really weird things, but this is very subtle. It all builds from a gentle kind of point, and it takes a long time for anything to happen. But the final image, the end scene, really stays with you because your brain is trying to work out for so long what exactly is happening and what it's seeing. Like I said, I like all kinds of horror. I even like horror tropes, you know. I'm not really bothered by things like that. If it's a good story, I'll enjoy it. But I think if we're to sort of recreate that unsettled campfire story feeling, perhaps the stripping back of all of that and just exploring the uncanny, that part of our brain that's difficult to interpret, and the side of ourselves that we might not want to see, and the things that we might not even want to admit frighten us. I think those things stay with us much more. Well, I'll be watching the new Twin Peaks later. I don't know what you're all up to. I'm very excited by that. Enjoy your day.